The desert doesn't forgive mistakes. Every grain of sand hides a threat. Every shadow could be your last. In the scorching heat of Anbar province, Iraq, 2007, our convoy disappeared into a sandstorm and found something that shouldn't exist. Something that the military buried so deep, even no one could find those files. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment saying where you're watching from. Now let me tell you what we found in Iraq. My name is Sergeant Jake Morrison. What I'm about to tell you will never appear in any official report. Command sealed it, classified it beyond top secret, told us to forget everything we saw. But 16 years later, I still wake up screaming, hearing Lisa Chen's voice crackling through the radio, begging for extraction that never came. And I still see that temple, glowing in the darkness, calling to us with symbols that predated human civilization. It was October 14th, 2007. The temperature hit 115 degrees by noon, and we were on our third supply run of the week. Route Michigan stretched ahead like a scar across the desert. IED Alley, we called it. Every pothole could hide a bomb. Every abandoned vehicle could be a kill zone. But we'd driven it 100 times before. We thought we knew the risks. Our convoy consisted of 5 vehicles, 3 Humvees and 2 supply trucks carrying water, ammunition, and medical supplies to Forward Operating Base Remagen, a small outpost 80 clicks north of Ramadi. Captain Richard Hartley led from the front vehicle, Lieutenant Sarah Blake rode in the middle, and I commanded the rear security Humvee with my team. Corporal Lisa Chun sat beside me, monitoring communications. She was 25, sharp as a blade, with nerves of steel. Born in San Francisco to immigrant parents, she spoke 3 languages and could fix a broken radio with nothing but wire and determination. Viper Maine, this is Convoy Echo 2, she reported into the headset. Checkpoint Bravo cleared. No enemy contact. Proceeding to Waypoint Charlie. Static crackled back. Copy, Echo 2. Weather advisory, sandstorm developing southwest of your position. ETA 90 minutes. Recommend increased speed. Behind us in the gun turret, Private First Class Marcus Williams, call sign Mac, scanned the horizon with his M249 saw. At 22, he was the youngest on our team but handled that machine gun like it was part of his body. "Hey, Sarge," he called down, "you see that?" I looked where he was pointing. To the southwest, the sky had turned orange-brown, a massive wall of sand rolling toward us like a tsunami. "Damn," I muttered. "That's not 90 minutes out. That's 30, maybe less." In the back seat, Specialist David Rodriguez checked his medical bag for the 3rd time. He was our medic, 24 years old, with a wife and 2 kids back in Texas. He treated that med kit like it held his family's lives. "We gonna make it to the FOB before that hits?" he asked nervously. "We better," I said, keying my radio. "Viper 6 Echo 2 actual. That sandstorm's moving faster than reported. Request permission to increase speed." Captain Hartley's voice came back immediately. "Negative, Echo 2. Maintain standard convoy speed. We don't want to outrun our escort coverage. We'll reach the FOB before it hits." But he was wrong. 15 minutes later, the wall of sand swallowed the sun. Visibility dropped from miles to meters in seconds. The wind hit us like a physical force, rocking the Humvee on its suspension. Sand blasted against the armored windows, turning the world into a screaming brown nothing. "I can't see the vehicle ahead," our driver, Private Tommy Jenkins, shouted over the roar. He was 19, from Oklahoma, and this was his first deployment. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Stay on the road," I ordered. "Follow the taillights. Don't lose visual contact." But the taillights ahead disappeared, swallowed by the storm. Jenkins hit the brakes. The Humvee behind us nearly rear-ended us before stopping. "Viper 6 Echo 2 actual," I called into the radio. We've lost visual contact with the convoy. Requesting status. Nothing but static. Not even the carrier wave. Lisa? I looked at Chen. She was cycling through frequencies, her face tight with concentration. All channels are dead, Sarge. This storm's interfering with everything. Even the emergency frequency is just noise. Mac dropped down from the turret, pulling his goggles up. His face was caked with sand. We sitting here or what? Can't see shit up there. I made a decision. We waited out. These storms usually last 20 to 30 minutes. We'll re-establish comms once it passes and link back up with the convoy. 20 minutes became 40. 40 became an hour. The sandstorm raged with fury I'd never seen before. The Humvee rocked constantly. Sand found its way into every crack and crevice, coating our gear, our weapons, our lungs. We sat in that metal box, breathing through cloth, listening to the desert try to bury us alive. When the storm finally passed, the silence was worse than the noise. No wind, no engine sounds, just oppressive, suffocating silence pressing down from a sky that had turned the color of old blood. I pushed open the door. Sand cascaded off the Humvee in waves. We'd been half buried. I climbed out, rifle up, scanning our surroundings, and my blood went cold. The road was gone. Not damaged, not covered, gone. Where Route Michigan should have been, there was only unmarked desert stretching in every direction. No tire tracks, no convoy, no landmarks I recognized. It was as if the storm had picked us up and dropped us somewhere else entirely. Jesus Christ, Rodriguez whispered, climbing out behind me. Where the hell are we? The other Humvee's crew emerged, equally confused. Staff Sergeant Tom Parker, a 15-year veteran who'd seen combat in Desert Storm, looked genuinely shaken. Morrison, what's our position? I pulled out my GPS unit. The screen flickered, showing coordinates that made no sense. According to the device, we were 50 clicks west of where we should be, in a region marked as uninhabited desert. GPS must be malfunctioning, I said, shaking it. Storm probably fried the circuits. Chen tried the radio again. Still nothing. Not even static now. It's like every frequency is just dead air. Mac climbed onto the Humvee's hood, using binoculars to scan the horizon. Sarge, you need to see this. I joined him. Through the heat shimmer, maybe 2 clicks north, something broke the flat monotony of the desert. Structures. Stone structures rising from the sand like broken teeth. What is that? Jenkins asked. Some kind of village? Parker shook his head. No villages out here. This whole sector's been mapped. There's nothing but sand for 100 clicks. But there it was, undeniable and impossible. A complex of stone buildings, partially buried, ancient beyond measure. Could be cover, I said, making the tactical call. Better than staying exposed out here. We move to those structures, find shelter, get our bearings, and wait for extraction. Extraction? Rodriguez said quietly. Sarge, nobody knows where we are. We don't even know where we are. He was right, but I couldn't let fear take hold. Command will have our last known position. They'll send search birds once the storm clears the area. We just need to sit tight and make ourselves visible. We checked both Humvees. Engines were clogged with sand but functional after some work. Radios were completely dead, even the backup units. But we had weapons, ammunition, water for 3 days, and enough rations for a week if we stretched them. We could survive. The drive to the structures took 20 minutes. As we got closer, the scale became apparent. These weren't buildings. They were ruins. Massive stone blocks fitted together with impossible precision, carved with symbols that hurt to look at directly. The architecture was like nothing I'd seen before, not Arabic, not Persian, something far older. We parked the Humvees in the shadow of the largest structure and dismounted. The temperature had dropped 20 degrees in the ruined shade, which should have been a relief but instead felt rolling, like the stones themselves were drinking the heat. "This is old," Parker said, running his hand over the carved walls. "I mean really old. Pre-Islamic, maybe even pre-Christian." Chen was photographing the symbols with her digital camera. "These aren't any language I recognize. They look almost like cuneiform, but the structure's all wrong." Mac found an entrance, a dark opening leading down into the earth. "Hey, Sarge, we got stairs here. Goes deep." I approached carefully, clicking on my weapon light. The beam cut into absolute darkness, illuminating stone steps worn smooth by countless feet over unimaginable time. The air coming from below was cool and carried a scent I couldn't place, something metallic and sharp. "We're not going down there, right?" Jenkins asked, his voice cracking slightly. I wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed to stay above ground, stay in the light. But the sun was setting, and desert nights got cold fast. "We need shelter. If there's a chamber below, it'll be warmer than sleeping in the Humvees." Parker organized our gear while I took Mac, Chen, and Rodriguez down to scout. The stairs descended at a steep angle, spiraling deeper into the earth. Our lights played across walls covered in more of those unsettling symbols, and something else. Figures. Humanoid but wrong, with too many limbs and faces that seemed to shift when caught in peripheral vision. "What the hell is this place?" Mac muttered. The stairs opened into a chamber that stole my breath. It was massive, easily 100 feet across, with a ceiling supported by columns carved from single pieces of stone. But what dominated the space was the device in the center. It stood 15 feet tall, cylindrical, made of a metal that gleamed despite millennia of age. Symbols covered its surface, glowing with faint blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Conduits or wires ran from it into the walls, and at its base sat a stone altar holding a tablet covered in more of those impossible symbols. "This isn't ancient," Chen whispered, approaching the device. "I mean, the chamber is, but this is technology. Advanced technology." Rodriguez crossed himself. "We should go. We should leave right now." But Mac was already circling the device, his tactical mind analyzing. "No power source. No visible machinery. But it's glowing. How's it glowing?" I approached the altar, studying the tablet. The symbols seemed to move in my vision, rearranging themselves into patterns that almost made sense, like my brain was trying to translate a language it shouldn't understand. "Don't touch it," Chen warned, but my hand was already reaching out. The moment my fingers made contact with the stone, the world lurched. The glowing intensified, bathing the chamber in blue light. The symbols on the device began rotating, spinning faster and faster. And from deep below, a sound started. Not mechanical, not natural, something between the two. A thrumming that resonated in my bones and made my teeth ache. "Jake, what did you do?" Chin grabbed my arm, trying to pull me back. But I couldn't move. My hand was stuck to the tablet, not physically held but locked in place by something invisible. The thrumming grew louder. The temperature dropped another 20 degrees in seconds. Our breath came out in clouds. And then I saw them. Figures emerging from the walls. Not walking through them, but forming from the stone itself. Humanoid shapes made of shadow and sand, with eyes that glowed the same blue as the device. They didn't move naturally. They flickered, phasing in and out of existence like bad video played back. "Contact!" Mac raised his weapon, but I shouted, "Don't fire. We don't know what they are." The figures surrounded us, 6 of them, watching with those unblinking glowing eyes. One stepped forward, and when it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once, echoing inside my skull. "You have awakened the Keeper." My hand finally released from the tablet. I stumbled back, raising my rifle. "Who are you? What is this place?" The figure tilted its head in a gesture that was almost human. "We are echoes. Guardians left behind when the builders departed. This is a threshold. A door between then and now. Between what and now? Chen demanded, her weapon also raised. Between the time that was and the time that is, the figure said. You have touched the keeper. You have opened the door. Now the counting begins. Counting to what? Rodriguez asked, his voice shaking. The figure looked at him, and in its eyes, I saw something that might have been pity. To the return. The builders left their tools behind, left us to guard them. But the tools cannot remain unused forever. When the door opens, the builders sense it across the vast distance, and they come to reclaim what is theirs. How long? I asked. How long until they come? 7 sunsets, the figure said. 7 turnings of the sky. If you remain, you will meet them, and they do not tolerate witnesses. The figures began to fade, dissolving back into the walls like they'd never existed. But the device continued to pulse, its rhythm faster now, more urgent. We ran, sprinted up those stairs like the devil himself was chasing us, burst into the fading daylight, and I immediately started barking orders. Pack it up. Everything. We're moving out now. What happened down there? Parker demanded. I'll explain on the road, I said, helping load gear. But we need to get away from this place, as far and as fast as possible. We drove into the desert night, no destination, just distance. But as I looked in the side mirror, watching the ruins disappear into darkness, I saw the blue glow intensifying, pulsing up from below ground like a beacon. 7 sunsets. 7 days until something arrived to reclaim its technology. And we were lost in an unmarked desert with no communications, no GPS, and no idea which direction would lead us to safety. Behind us, the light grew brighter. And somewhere in the distance, I swear I heard something. Not the wind, not engines. Something else. Something old and vast, stirring from a sleep that had lasted millennia. We'd opened a door that should have stayed closed. And now, the counting had begun. We drove for 2 hours straight into the black void of the desert night. No lights except our headlights cutting through darkness that felt thicker than normal, more oppressive. Jenkins kept both Humvees moving at maximum safe speed, dodging rocks and dunes that appeared suddenly in our beams. Parker's voice crackled through the vehicle-to-vehicle radio, one of the few pieces of equipment still working. Morrison, where are we heading? We need a destination, not just distance. I didn't have an answer. The GPS was still showing impossible coordinates. Our maps meant nothing when we didn't know our starting position. But I couldn't tell him that. Leaders don't show doubt, not when their people are already scared. East, I said with false confidence. We head east until we hit something we recognize. A road, a village, anything. Chen was studying her digital camera, scrolling through the photos she'd taken of the chamber. Jake, look at this. She showed me the screen. In the photographs, the symbols on the device appeared different than they had in person. They formed patterns, mathematical sequences that her engineering background recognized. These aren't decorations. They're equations. Advanced physics beyond anything I studied at MIT. How advanced? Rodriguez asked from the back seat. Theoretical quantum mechanics kind of advanced, she said quietly. The kind that shouldn't exist yet. Maybe won't exist for another century. Mac's voice came from the turret. So we found alien tech in the Iraqi desert. Great. That's just perfect. You think the Air Force knows about this? If they do, they've kept it quiet, I said. Which means either they don't know, or they know and decided it's safer buried. Well, it's not buried anymore, Jen said. When you touched that tablet, you activated something. Sent a signal. Those guardian things said the builders would sense it. Parker's voice interrupted. Contact, 3 o'clock, 200 meters. I grabbed my rifle, scanning right. Through the darkness, I saw lights. Not vehicle lights. These were wrong, floating 10 feet off the ground, pulsing with the same blue glow as the device. There were 3 of them, moving parallel to our convoy, keeping pace. "What are those?" Jenkins asked, his voice tight. "I don't know," I said, which was becoming my most common answer. "Just keep driving. Don't stop, don't engage." The lights followed us for 20 minutes, never getting closer, never falling behind. Then, without warning, they shot straight up into the sky and vanished, leaving only empty darkness behind. "That was surveillance," Chin said. "They were scanning us, marking us, or counting us," Rodriguez added quietly, "seeing how many witnesses there are." We drove until the Humvee's fuel gauges hit the quarter mark. I called a halt at the base of a dune that provided some cover from the wind that had picked up. We'd been moving for nearly 4 hours, and exhaustion was setting in. Even Mac, who usually had endless energy, looked haggard in the vehicle's dome light. Parker pulled his Humvee alongside ours. His crew consisted of Private David Walsh on the gun, Specialist Sarah Kim as driver, and Private First Class James Cooper riding shotgun. All three looked like they'd aged 10 years in the past day. "We need to establish a defensive perimeter," Parker said, his military training taking over. "Set watch rotations, conserve fuel, and figure out our next move come daylight." I agreed. We positioned the Humvee's nose to tail in a rough circle, creating a small protected area in the center. Mac and Walsh took first watch, one in each turret, night vision engaged. The rest of us tried to rest, though sleep seemed impossible. Chin sat beside me, her back against the Humvee's tire, staring up at the stars. "You ever wonder if we're meant to find these things?" she asked quietly. "The temple, the device. Maybe it's not coincidence. Maybe we were supposed to be in that sandstorm." "That's paranoid thinking," I said, though the same thought had crossed my mind. "Is it? Think about it. 5-vehicle convoy, but only 2 got separated? Only the 2 vehicles that ended up exactly where the ruins were? That's not random chance, Jake. That's selection." Before I could respond, Mac hissed from the turret. "Movement, north side, 50 meters. Everyone was instantly alert, weapons up. I grabbed my night vision goggles, scanning where Mac indicated. At first, I saw nothing. Then my brain processed what I was looking at, and my blood ran cold. The sand was moving, not blown by wind, but flowing upward, defying gravity, forming shapes. Human shapes. Dozens of them, rising from the desert floor like sculptures being carved in reverse. They stood in a wide circle around our position, perfectly still, watching with eyes that glowed faint blue in the darkness. "Echo Guardians," Chun whispered. "Just like in the temple." "They're surrounding us," Walsh called out, panic edging into his voice. "We're boxed in." Parker's command voice cut through. "Nobody fires unless I give the order. Morrison, you dealt with these things before. What do they want?" I stepped forward, leaving the protection of the Humvees. Probably stupid, definitely risky, but we needed answers. "Why are you following us?" I called out to the figures. "We left your temple. We're not coming back." The nearest figure tilted its head, that same almost human gesture. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You cannot leave. You opened the threshold. You are marked now. Part of the counting." "We don't want any part of your counting," I said. "Just tell us how to get back to our people." "There is no back," the figure said. "Only forward. 7 sunsets were promised. 6 remain. When the builders arrive, all who bear the mark will be collected. Studied. Understood?" "Studied?" Chun had moved up beside me. "What does that mean?" The figure turned to her. "You have seen their technology. Touched it. Your patterns are recorded now. Chemical, electrical, genetic. The builders will want to examine what touched their tool, to ensure contamination has not occurred." Rodriguez stepped forward, medical training overriding fear. "Contamination? Are we infected with something?" "Not infection. Integration. The tool shared its knowledge with the one who touched it. The figure's glowing eyes fixed on me. You carry builder patterns now. Thoughts that are not yours. Understanding that should not exist in your species yet. This must be verified. Cleansed, if necessary. My head had been aching since we left the temple, a dull throb behind my eyes. And Chen was right. I had been seeing those equations, understanding concepts I'd never studied. I'd attributed it to stress, but now I realized the truth was worse. How do we remove it? I asked. How do we cleanse ourselves? You cannot, the figure said simply. Only the builders can. And they will, after they understand what you have become. And if we refuse to wait for them? Parker demanded. If we keep running? The figure actually seemed to consider this. Running changes nothing. The mark transcends distance. But perhaps, if you move far enough, fast enough, you might delay the collection. Might find others of your kind who can help. We are but echoes, shadows of what once was. We cannot interfere with builder protocols. But we can choose what information to share. It raised one shadowy arm, pointing southeast. 5 sunrises in that direction, a structure of your people. Metal and machines. They have tools that might read the mark. Might understand what has been done to you. A base? I asked. You're saying there's a military base 5 days southeast of here? Not military. Research. They study the old places. The forbidden zones. They may have answers. Or they may have more questions. But they are your kind, and they are closer than your original destination. Parker grabbed my arm. This could be a trap, leading us into more of whatever the hell this is. Maybe, I agreed. But what choice do we have? Sit here and wait for these builders to arrive? Keep wandering until we die of thirst? I looked back at the figure. This research facility, are there more of your kind there? More guardians? There are many guardians in many places, the figure said. Wherever the builders left their tools, we remain. The research facility knows this, has learned to work around us. Most of the time. That most of the time hung ominous in the air. But before I could ask more, the figures began to dissolve, sinking back into the sand like they'd never existed. The last one to disappear spoke final words that echoed in the darkness. 6 sunsets remain. Choose wisely how you spend them. We stood in silence after they vanished. Finally, Parker spoke. So, we believe shadow monsters made of sand? Trust them to guide us to salvation? You got a better plan? Mac asked from the turret. We navigate by stars, Kim suggested. Basic land nav southeast for 5 days. We'll hit something eventually. Chen was already calculating. If these Humvees can manage 30 miles a day in desert terrain, and we travel 12 hours per day accounting for mechanical issues, we're looking at 150 miles total. That's within our fuel range if we're conservative. Water? Rodriguez asked. 3 days at normal rations, I said. 5 if we cut consumption to survival minimums. It'll be rough, but doable. Cooper, who'd been quiet until now, finally spoke up. Am I the only one who's going to say it? We touched alien technology, got infected with alien knowledge, and now we're being hunted by aliens. This is insane. We should be calling for extraction, not road tripping across the desert following directions from sand ghosts. Our radios are dead, Chen reminded him. Even if they weren't, what would we tell command? That we found a device older than civilization that's calling its owners back to Earth? They'd think we'd been in the sun too long. She's right, Parker said reluctantly. We're on our own until we reach this research facility or whatever it is. Then we can get real help. We broke camp at first light. The desert looked different in daylight, less threatening but more desolate. Sand stretched in every direction, broken only by the occasional rock formation or dead tree. No roads, no landmarks, nothing but emptiness. Chen navigated using her knowledge of celestial navigation and the sun's position. Southeast, the Guardian had said. So southeast we drove, rationing water, conserving fuel, and trying not to think about what was counting down toward us. The first day passed without incident. The second day, the Humvee started having mechanical issues. Sand in the engines, filters clogging, fuel lines struggling. We spent 4 hours in the midday heat doing field repairs that should have been done in a proper motor pool. On the third day, Jenkins started hearing voices. At first, we thought it was heat exhaustion, but Chin heard them too. Whispers in languages that shouldn't exist, mathematical concepts spoken aloud by the wind itself. The knowledge the device had transferred to me was spreading, transmitted like a virus through proximity. "We are all infected now," Rodriguez said, checking Jenkins's vitals for the 5th time. "Whatever this is, it's contagious." "Not contagious," Chun corrected. "Broadcasting. Jake's acting as a transmitter, and we're all receivers." The device didn't just give him information, it turned him into a relay point. "Can we stop it?" Parker asked. Chin shook her head. "Not without equipment we don't have. Medical facilities, signal jammers, something to interrupt the transmission. All we can do is push through and hope this research facility has answers." On the 4th day, we saw our first vehicle since the sandstorm. A military Humvee, abandoned in a small canyon, half buried in sand. We approached cautiously, weapons ready, but it was empty. The vehicle's serial numbers identified it as part of a convoy that had gone missing 6 months ago, officially listed as captured by insurgents. But there were no signs of combat. No bullet holes, no blood, just an empty vehicle with its doors open and equipment scattered around it like the crew had simply vanished mid-operation. Chin found a journal in the driver's seat. The entries were frantic, written in shaking handwriting. The final entry read, "The blue lights are back. 3 of them now. They're getting closer each night. Jensen says he can hear them in his head, speaking equations. Captain ordered us to keep moving, but the GPS is showing impossible locations. We're lost. The lights are here. They're right outside. They're not lights at all. There." The entry ended there, pen dragging across the page like the writer had been pulled away mid-sentence. "6 months ago," Walsh said quietly. "This convoy disappeared 6 months ago, and they found the same thing we did." "Or it found them," Max said. "How many other convoys have vanished out here? How many got chalked up to enemy action when really they found these temples?" I didn't want to think about it. Didn't want to imagine dozens of lost soldiers wandering the desert, infected with alien knowledge, waiting for mysterious builders to collect them like specimens. We took what supplies we could from the abandoned Humvee, extra fuel and water that extended our range. As we drove away, I looked in the mirror one last time. In the shimmer of heat waves, I could have sworn I saw figures standing beside the abandoned vehicle. Blue-eyed guardians, still watching over what their builders had left behind. That night, the 5th night, we should have been close to the research facility. But as sunset painted the sky blood red, we crested a dune and found something that made my heart sink. A massive canyon system stretched before us, cutting through the desert like a wound in the earth. Miles wide, hundreds of feet deep, with no visible way around. "The facility's on the other side," Chin said, checking her calculations. "We're close. Maybe 10 miles. But this canyon, there has to be a way across," Parker said, scanning with binoculars. "A bridge, a shallow crossing, something." But there wasn't. The canyon was a natural barrier, impassable to vehicles. We could see lights on the far side, clustered in what looked like a small installation. The research facility, so close but impossibly far. "We rope down and cross on foot," Max suggested. "Leave the Humvees, take what we can carry." "That's 10 miles through rough terrain," Rodriguez protested. "With our water situation, in this heat, not everyone would make it." As we argued about options, the sun touched the horizon. 6th sunset. The counting was almost complete. Tomorrow, on the 7th sunset, the builders would arrive. And then I saw it. Lights rising from the canyon. Not blue this time, but white, brilliant, moving with purpose. They weren't guardian echoes. They were vehicles, aircraft, coming toward us from the facility. Someone had seen us. Someone was coming. But as relief flooded through me, I noticed something else. From the direction we'd come, from the temple now 150 miles behind us, the sky was changing. Not darkening with natural night, but warping, bending, reality itself seeming to tear. The builders weren't waiting for 7 sunsets. They were early. And we were caught in the open, exposed, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The aircraft from the facility were 10 minutes out. The distortion in the sky was growing by the second. And all I could think was that we'd gotten so close to answers, to safety, to understanding what we'd stumbled into. But close doesn't matter when the universe itself is breaking apart above you. The aircraft weren't helicopters. They moved too smoothly, too silently, cutting through the desert air with a grace that defied conventional aerodynamics. As they got closer, I could see they were V-shaped, matte black, with no visible rotors or engines. The kind of craft that officially didn't exist. "Those aren't standard military," Parker said, lowering his binoculars. "What the hell kind of research facility is this?" The sky behind us continued to warp, reality bending like heat shimmer, but wrong, fundamentally wrong. The distortion was growing, spreading, and through it I could see something else. Shapes that hurt to perceive directly, geometries that shouldn't exist in three-dimensional space. The builders were coming through. The lead aircraft descended 50 meters from our position, kicking up sand in a perfect circle. A rear hatch opened, and figures emerged. They wore hazmat-style suits, but the materials seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The lead figure pulled off their helmet, revealing a woman in her 50s with gray-streaked hair and eyes that had seen too much. "I'm Dr. Elizabeth Vance," she shouted over the wind. "You're the convoy from FOB Remagen. We've been tracking your energy signature for 3 days. You need to come with us right now." "Energy signature?" I asked, but she was already pointing at the growing distortion. "That threshold is opening faster than calculated. You activated a Class A keeper, didn't you? Touched the primary interface?" She looked directly at me, and somehow knew. "You're the carrier, the one broadcasting the builder frequency." "How do you know about the builders?" Chen demanded. "Because we've been studying them for 40 years, Vance said. "Ever since the first threshold was discovered in New Mexico. Now move. We have maybe 5 minutes before that breach stabilizes, and you do not want to be here when they cross over." We didn't need more convincing. My team piled into the first aircraft while Parker's crew boarded the second. The interior was unlike any military transport I'd seen. Smooth walls covered in displays showing data I couldn't begin to interpret. The moment everyone was aboard, the hatches sealed and we lifted off with stomach-dropping speed. Through the window, I watched the distortion expand. The sky was tearing open like fabric, and through the gap, I saw it. A structure, massive beyond comprehension, made of materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. It was descending through the breach, slowly but inexorably. "Jesus Christ," Mac whispered. "That's a ship, a spacecraft." "That's a harvester," Vance corrected, strapping into a seat across from us. "Builder technology designed for one purpose, collecting and analyzing biological samples that have interacted with their keeper devices. You touched their technology, so now you're specimens to be studied." "Studied how?" Rodriguez asked, though his medical training probably already told him the answer. "Vivisection, primarily. The builders don't distinguish between living examination and autopsy. To them, there's no difference. You're just data to be extracted and cataloged." The aircraft banked hard, racing toward the canyon. Behind us, The harvester fully emerged from the breach, a structure easily a mile across, bristling with appendages that writhed like living things. "Can't we just explain?" Jenkins asked desperately. "Tell them we didn't mean to activate it? That it was an accident?" Vance's expression was pitying. "The builders don't communicate. They don't negotiate. They're not hostile, but they're not benign either. They're collectors, archivists operating on logic we can barely comprehend. To them, contaminated specimens must be retrieved and processed. It's not malice. It's protocol." We crossed the canyon in seconds, the facility rushing up to meet us. It was larger than I'd realized from a distance, a complex of buildings built into the canyon walls, half underground. The aircraft descended into a massive hangar that immediately sealed behind us, blast doors 10 feet thick slamming shut. "Will that hold them?" Parker asked as we disembarked. "No," Vance said bluntly, "but it'll buy us time. Follow me." She led us through corridors that looked more like a university research center than a military base. Scientists in lab coats hurried past, carrying equipment and shouting coordinates. Screens everywhere showed the harvester's position, tracking it as it moved slowly but deliberately toward the facility. "ETA 12 minutes, someone called out. "Not enough time," Vance muttered. She pulled me aside into a side room. "You're the primary carrier, the one who touched the keeper directly. How long ago?" 5 days, I said. 5 nights. "And you've been experiencing knowledge transfer? Mathematical concepts, engineering principles, things you shouldn't understand." I nodded. "It's getting stronger, and I think I'm transmitting it to my team." "You are," she confirmed. "The keeper marked you as a relay point. You're broadcasting builder frequency on multiple levels: quantum, electromagnetic, even genetic. Your DNA is literally being rewritten to store information." Chen, who'd followed us in, grabbed Vance's arm. "There has to be a way to stop it. Reverse the process." "There is," Vance said, pulling up a holographic display. "But it's dangerous and only been tested in computer simulations. We can use a modified MRI to disrupt the quantum entanglement between Morrison's neural patterns and the builder frequency. Essentially, we'd be scrambling the signal." "What's the downside?" I asked, though I suspected I knew. "Potential brain damage, memory loss, stroke, or complete neural shutdown resulting in death. The simulations give you a 40% survival rate." 40%. I'd faced worse odds in combat, but never odds where failure meant losing myself even if my body survived. "What happens if we do nothing?" Mac asked from the doorway. He'd been listening the whole time. "The harvester takes you," Vance said simply. "All of you. The primary carrier and anyone who's been exposed to the transmission. It'll bring you aboard, extract the information through means I'd rather not describe, then dispose of the biological material once data collection is complete." "Disposal," Rodriguez said flatly. "You mean kill us? The builders don't see it as killing. To them, you're already dead. You were dead the moment you touched their technology. What remains is just a container holding their data." The facility shook. Distant booms echoed through the corridors. On the displays, I could see the harvester had reached the canyon, extending appendages down into the research complex like a spider exploring a crack in the wall. 6 minutes, someone shouted. "We need to evacuate." "Prep the MRI," Vance ordered. "Morrison, you need to decide now. Let us try the disruption procedure, or accept that you and your team are going to be taken." I looked at my team. Chen, brilliant and brave. Mac, loyal to the end. Rodriguez, who just wanted to get back to his family. Jenkins, barely more than a kid. Parker and his crew, veterans who'd survived everything war could throw at them only to be felled by something from beyond human understanding. "Do it," I said. "Run the procedure." "Jake, no," Chen grabbed my arm. 40% odds. "Are better than 0, I cut her off. If this works, the transmission stops. You're not marked anymore. The harvester might leave you alone. Might is better than certainly, I said. Parker, get everyone to the evacuation point. If this goes wrong, you get them out. Parker straightened. You're giving me an order, Sergeant? I'm asking a favor, Tom. He held my gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Don't die in there, Morrison. That's an order. Vance led me to a medical bay where a massive machine dominated the center of the room. It looked like a standard MRI scanner crossed with technology that seemed decades ahead of current capabilities. Cables ran from it into the walls, and the whole assembly hummed with barely contained power. Lie down, Vance instructed. Once we start, the process takes 3 minutes. It's going to hurt. A lot. Your brain will interpret the quantum disruption as sensory overload. People in the simulations reported feeling like their minds were being pulled apart. Comforting, I said, climbing onto the platform. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to keep you alive. She began attaching sensors to my head. The builders have left technology across this planet. Buried in deserts, sunken in oceans, hidden in mountains. Every major unexplained disappearance, every mass vanishing, 80% correlate with Keeper activation sites. The government knows, has known since the 1940s. But we can't stop people from finding these things. Can't seal every temple or guard every forbidden zone. All we can do is study them, try to understand, and save who we can. The facility shook again, harder this time. Through the medical bay's window, I could see personnel running. 4 minutes until breach, a voice announced over speakers. Start the procedure, I said. Vance hesitated. There's something else you should know. If this works, if we disrupt the entanglement, you'll lose everything the Keeper gave you. All that knowledge, all those insights. You'll forget things you never knew you learned. Good, I said. I don't want their knowledge. I just want my life back. She nodded and activated the machine. The humming intensified, becoming almost subsonic. I felt it in my chest, my bones deeper. Then the pain started. It was like every nerve firing at once. Colors I'd never seen exploding behind my eyes. Sounds that weren't sounds screaming through my consciousness. And knowledge, vast incomprehensible knowledge, being torn away piece by piece. I saw the builders' civilization, spanning galaxies, collecting data on every species they encountered. Saw Earth as they saw it, a garden of interesting biological forms to be cataloged. Saw the Keepers scattered across our world, waiting for curious hands to touch them, to mark themselves for collection. And I saw what happened to those who were taken. Thousands of people over thousands of years, brought aboard harvesters, studied, understood, and then discarded like used equipment. The builders weren't evil. That would have been easier to accept. They were simply indifferent, vast intelligences pursuing knowledge with mechanical precision, never considering that the specimens they collected could suffer, could fear, could want to live. The pain peaked. I screamed or thought I did. Hard to tell when your sense of self is fragmenting. And then, like a switch being thrown, it stopped. The knowledge vanished. The connection severed. I was just Jake Morrison again, 28-year-old sergeant from Ohio, scared and confused but blessedly human. Vance was pulling the sensors off. It worked. The quantum signature is gone. You're clean. I tried to sit up, nearly fell. My head felt stuffed with cotton. My team should be clear. Without you as a relay, the transmission stopped. But we need to move. That harvester is still coming, and it might not realize you're not marked anymore. Might still try to collect you on principle. She helped me off the platform. My legs felt uncertain, but they held. Through the windows, I could see the evacuation in full swing. Personnel loading into those black aircraft, systems being powered down, the whole facility preparing to abandon. Where's my team? I demanded. Evacuation hangar. Parker got them there. But Morrison, she grabbed my arm. The harvester's at the main entrance. You'll have to go through the lower tunnels. And there's something down there. Something that's been contained since this facility was built. What kind of something? Another keeper. Inactive, sealed. But with the harvester this close, it might wake up. Might try to respond to its makers. The facility shook violently. Somewhere above, metal shrieked and tore. The harvester was breaking through. No choice, I said. Show me the tunnels. We ran through corridors lit by emergency lights. Behind us, I could hear something massive moving through the facility, appendages scraping against walls, searching. Vance led me to a service elevator that descended deep underground, far below the visible facility. This is where we keep the really dangerous finds, she explained as we dropped. Things too risky to study but too important to destroy. Your keeper is small scale. The one down here is massive. We found it in 1962 under the Nevada test site. Spent 40 years moving it here piece by piece. The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto a chamber that made the temple in Iraq look like a toy. The keeper here was 50 feet tall, covered in the same symbols, pulsing with that familiar blue light. But it wasn't alone. Shadow guardians filled the chamber, hundreds of them, standing in perfect circles around the device. They turned to look at me as one. The marked one, they said in unison. You have been cleansed. The builders will not claim you now, but they will not leave willingly either. They have come for their tool, for this keeper. Let them take it, I said. If that's what they want, let them have it and go. They will not go, the guardian said. Once a harvester arrives, it completes its collection. If it cannot take marked specimens, it will take the keeper itself. And in doing so, it will destroy everything within 10 miles. Your people, your facility, the settlements beyond, all will be reduced to component atoms. Above, an explosion shook the chamber. The harvester had breached the lower levels. What can we do? Vance asked the guardians desperately. How do we stop it? You cannot, they said. But we can. We are echoes, yes. Shadows of what was. But we are also guardians. And we have guarded long enough. Perhaps it is time to rest. The guardians began to move, flowing toward the chamber ceiling. I realized they weren't made of shadow and sand. They were quantum echoes, consciousness preserved in the gaps between dimensions. And they were about to sacrifice that existence. Wait, I said. What are you doing? What we were created to do, they replied. Guard the keepers. Protect them from those who would misuse them, even if that means protecting them from the builders themselves. Tell your people to run, to leave this place, to forget what they found here. The guardians flowed upward through solid rock. Above, the sounds of the harvester changed, from mechanical scraping to something almost like surprise. Then came a sound I'd never heard before, like reality tearing, but in reverse. Like wounds in space-time being forcibly healed. They're attacking it, Vance whispered. The guardians are attacking the harvester. We ran. Back to the elevator, up to the main levels, through corridors now filled with smoke and sparking wires. Behind us, the sounds of an impossible battle raged. Quantum entities fighting technology from beyond human understanding, both sides operating on principles that physics hadn't yet discovered. The evacuation hangar was chaos. The last aircraft was preparing to launch, rotors spinning up. I saw my team aboard, Chin leaning out and screaming my name. Parker pulling her back as the aircraft began to lift. Go, I shouted. Get them out. But Mac was there, hanging from the open hatch, hand extended. Not without you, Sarge. I ran harder than I'd ever run. Vance beside me, both of us sprinting as the facility came apart around us. The aircraft was lifting, rising, 5 feet off the ground, then 10. Mac's hand stretched out, impossibly far, and I jumped. My fingers caught his wrist. He hauled me up with strength born from pure determination. Vance grabbed the landing skid behind me, Rodriguez and Parker pulling her aboard. The hatch sealed, and we shot upward through the hangar just as the entire facility imploded behind us. Through the window, I watched it happen. The Harvester, that mile-wide monstrosity, was dissolving. The Guardians had wrapped around it like a cocoon, and where they touched, the builder technology simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged, erased. Returned to the quantum foam from which all things emerge. The Harvester tried to retreat back through its breach, but the Guardians followed. They poured into the dimensional tear, and I understood their final act. They were sealing the door, making sure no more Harvesters could follow. The breach collapsed with a flash of light that turned night to day. When my vision cleared, the desert was empty. No Harvester, no Guardians, just sand and stars and blessed, normal reality. The aircraft flew for 2 hours before landing at what Vance called a secondary facility. This one was above ground, disguised as an archaeological dig site. They separated us for debriefing, gentle but thorough questioning that lasted 3 days. Dr. Vance explained everything. The program that studied builder sites, operated by a classified division buried so deep in the government that even most generals didn't know it existed. The 47 keepers they'd found worldwide, each one guarded, sealed, kept from human contact. The thousands of people who'd been taken over the years, before they'd learned how to track and intercept Harvester arrivals. "You're the first carrier we've successfully cleansed," she told me on the 3rd day. "The first person to touch a keeper and survive with their humanity intact. That makes you valuable. We'd like to offer you a position with the program." "Doing what?" I asked. "Finding keepers before civilians do. Sealing thresholds before they can open. Saving people like I saved you." She slid a folder across the table. "You've seen what's out there now. You can't unknow it. The question is, do you want to fight it?" I looked at the folder. Saw photos of temples in jungles, devices under ice, structures on the ocean floor. Saw the faces of missing people, thousands of them, all potential carriers waiting to be collected. "What about my team?" I asked. "They've all been offered positions. Chun's already accepted. Can't wait to get her hands on the technology. Mac wants to lead tactical response teams. Rodriguez is considering, says he needs to talk to his wife first. Parker's in, but only if his crew comes too." I opened the folder, studying the documents. The program had been running since 1947, since Roswell, though that incident turned out to be a convenient cover story for what they'd really found in the desert. Not aliens visiting Earth, but evidence that something had visited long ago, leaving technology behind, marking our world as part of their collection. "The builders are still out there," Vance said quietly. "Still collecting, still cataloging. And Earth is still in their database, still a site of interest. This won't be the last Harvester to arrive. But now we know how to fight them. The Guardians showed us that even the builders' technology has limits." I thought about Marcus Reed, about Walker, about all the soldiers I'd lost in my previous deployment. Thought about all the people still out there, wandering near temples and touching devices they didn't understand. Thought about 7 sunsets and impossible knowledge and the moment I'd realized humanity was just one species in a universe full of collectors and archivists. "I'm in," I said. That was 16 years ago. Since then, I've led response teams to 23 keeper sites. Saved 89 carriers from collection. Lost 12 people to harvesters we couldn't stop in time. The program's grown, funded through black budgets and operated in shadows, but we're making a difference. Chen runs the technology division now, reverse engineering what we can from captured builder tech. Mac commands field operations across 3 continents. Rodriguez went back to his family for 2 years, then came back, said he couldn't live a normal life knowing what was out there. Parker retired after 1 mission, said he'd seen enough for 1 lifetime. I don't blame him. The Guardians are gone. All of them, across all 47 sites, sacrificed themselves to seal the threshold network. No more quantum echoes watching over keepers. No more warnings. Just us, human soldiers and scientists, standing between our species and collection. We found the rest of our original convoy last year. They'd activated a different keeper, been taken by a harvester that arrived before we could intervene. Found their bodies in the desert, arranged in perfect geometric patterns, each one displaying signs of extensive biological study. Captain Hartley, Lieutenant Blake, and 22 others. The report listed them as killed from an IED strike. Their families never learned the truth. That's the hardest part of this job. The lies we tell. The secrets we keep. Families deserve to know what happened to their loved ones. But how do you explain that they were taken by ancient technology left by architects from beyond our understanding? How do you tell a mother that her son was collected like a butterfly in a jar? So we lie, and we fight, and we hope that one day we'll find enough keepers, seal enough thresholds, that Earth will be removed from the builder's catalog entirely. Some nights, I still see that first temple, still feel the tablet under my fingers. Still hear the Guardian's voice echoing, 7 sunsets. Choose wisely how you spend them. I chose to spend mine fighting back, making sure others get more than 7 days. If you're watching this, if you're in the military or intelligence or even just someone who loves exploring remote places, remember this. If you find structures that seem too old, too advanced, too perfect to be natural, don't touch them. Don't go inside. Mark the location, report it through channels, and walk away. Because there are still keepers out there. Still thresholds waiting to be opened. And while we've learned to fight the harvesters, we haven't learned to stop them entirely. Every activation is a risk. Every marked carrier is a person whose life hangs by a thread. The desert doesn't forgive mistakes, and neither do the builders. My name is Sergeant Jake Morrison, and I've spent 16 years cleaning up the mistake I made in Anbar province. The mistake of touching something I didn't understand and opening a door I couldn't close. The Guardians saved us that time, sacrificed themselves to seal the threshold. But they're gone now. And the next time a harvester comes through, it'll be just us, human against something that considers us nothing more than data to be collected. So please, if you find a keeper, walk away. Let us handle it. Let people trained for this nightmare deal with the consequences. Because once you touch that technology, once you're marked, your life isn't your own anymore. You become property, a specimen waiting to be collected. And while we've saved 89 carriers, we've lost 12. Those aren't good odds. Not when the cost of failure is having your consciousness stripped away while your body's dissected for study. The program's still running, still fighting, still saving who we can. Dr. Vance says we've sealed 31 of the 47 keepers. 16 remain active, 16 potential thresholds that could open any time someone's curiosity overcomes their caution. Maybe one day we'll seal them all. Maybe one day Earth will be safe from collection. But until then, soldiers like me will keep fighting in shadows, keeping secrets, protecting humanity from a threat most people don't know exists. The official report says our convoy was hit by an IED, that we survived through tactical excellence and quick thinking, that we spent 5 days navigating hostile territory before reaching friendly forces. None of it's true, but it's the story command tells. The story that keeps people from asking questions. But now you know the real story, the classified truth. And if you're smart, you'll forget everything I just told you. Because knowing about the builders doesn't protect you. It just makes you aware of how powerless we really are. Still watching without subscribing? Hit that button now. And in the comments, tell me, if you found ancient technology promising knowledge beyond human understanding, would you touch it? Would you risk 7 sunsets for a glimpse of cosmic truth? Think carefully before you answer. Because somewhere in the desert, in a jungle, beneath ice or ocean, another keeper waits. And it's calling to someone, right now, promising answers to questions humanity shouldn't ask. Don't be the one who touches it. Don't be the next carrier. Don't give the builders another specimen to collect. Learn from my mistake. Walk away from the temples, and pray the thresholds stay sealed. Because if they don't, next time, there won't be any guardians to save us. Just the harvesters, collecting, studying, cataloging everything that makes us human, and then erasing it like it never mattered at all.